In 2020, California passed a law that made it illegal to deny renting to someone based solely on the fact that they are part of the Section 8 program. Hi everyone, this is Brandon with Coastline Equity, a property management company based out here in Southern California. And today we're going to be answering some common questions that landlords and managers have about this program that you may have come across called Section 8. We'll give you a brief rundown of what it is, who qualifies for it, some pros and cons of accepting it, and how to go about setting things up so that you start receiving rent. Okay, so let's jump into it. First, a brief idea of what Section 8 is. Section 8 is a government-funded program that helps to provide money for housing for low-income, disabled, and elderly families and individuals. This money is paid directly to landlords, and the tenant is usually responsible for a relatively small balance, or in some cases, no balance at all. Its name is in reference to the 8th section of the United States Housing Act of 1937, but it's also known as the Housing Choice Voucher Program because it provides vouchers directly to recipients and allows them to find housing of their choice instead of simply requiring them to live in specific government-built projects. Now, this gives them the flexibility to use the voucher for any type of housing, such as apartments, townhouses, and single-family homes. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD, is the federal department that oversees the funding of the Section 8 program. Its main role is to distribute funds to the many local public housing agencies, or PHAs, such as the Public Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles or the City of Long Beach, for example. And it's those local agencies that are the ones that are responsible for working with landlords and tenants. So who qualifies for Section 8? Funding is provided based on things such as family size, citizenship status, and of course, income. Generally speaking, applicants must have a household income of 50% below the median income for the area in which they're looking to rent. Now, assuming they meet this criteria, the local public housing authority will determine the market rate for a moderately priced space in that particular area, and then require the tenant to pay 30 to 40% of their monthly income towards that amount. The public housing authority will then pick up the tab for the rest. Now, what are the benefits of accepting Section 8 tenants? Well, first and foremost are guaranteed on-time rental payments. Basically, 70% of the monthly rent is automatically paid on the same day each month by the government. This can be especially helpful to you as a landlord during difficult and uncertain economic times. In fact, currently during the pandemic, if a Section 8 tenant loses their job, the government will pay 100% of the rent. So landlords can still expect to receive a consistent monthly check. Also, because Section 8 typically has a long waiting list, you are very likely to have a high supply of eager renters who can find your property through the free advertising that your local PHA promotes to the people on that list. Finally, you may see longer-term tenants and lower turnover rates. A research paper put out by HUD stated that while the length of stay for a typical US renter is somewhere between 2 to 3 years, tenants with Section 8 vouchers stay an average of 6.6 years. But now for the flip side. First, you should note that how much you get paid by the government is based upon the local housing authority's assessment of what a comparable, moderately priced unit should cost in your area. And so this may be lower than the amount that you are hoping to get. Second are the inspections. Before a tenant can move in with their voucher, the local housing authority must inspect the unit and the property to make sure that it fits within their standards of maintenance. Now, depending on your area, it could take some time to get an appointment with an inspector. Also, you or someone you designate will need to set aside some time to meet with the inspector on site, and then any issues that are found will require fixing and setting up yet another appointment. After that, routine re-inspections will take place each year. Fortunately though, in order to help with this whole process, many cities and counties will pay landlords a bonus onboarding fee to cover the delays that can be caused from the inspection waiting period. This bonus can range from $2,500 to $7,500 per new resident. Lastly, because you and the tenant will be connected to the local housing authority, it may be a bit more of a process to evict if the need arises. Okay, so maybe you have some units that you're finding it difficult to get rented, and you decide that you want to list them with the Section 8 program. Or a prospective tenant comes to you and says they have a voucher and that they want to rent your space. What do you do next? Well, in the first scenario, you may want to take the initiative and get a project-based voucher from your local housing authority. The PHA gives you a fixed number of vouchers per year to reserve units for Section 8 tenants. These vouchers stay with the property, and even if a Section 8 tenant moves out, the subsidy remains with the property. It does not follow the tenant. So you can continue renting to Section 8 tenants much easier in the future. The second scenario may be a bit more common. Your property is not listed as a Section 8 building, but someone comes to you and says they are working with the local housing authority and they want to rent your unit using a Section 8 voucher. What do you do in this situation? Well, the process for a tenant-based voucher would start just as in any other situation. You would simply pre-qualify the prospect by explaining your application requirements. For example, a credit score of 650 or higher, no criminal history, no pets, etc. But note that if you typically ask for a deposit plus the first month's rent, the rent amount is paid through the voucher, and it will take some time after the tenant moves in before that amount is received from the housing authority. Also note that you can still require that a tenant makes a certain amount of income beyond the monthly rent. For example, 2.5 times the monthly rent. The only difference here is that you can only look at the portion of the rent that the tenant will be paying, not the entire rent amount itself. So if you require an applicant makes 2.5 times the monthly rent, and the applicant's voucher states that they are only responsible for $600 of rent per month, and then the voucher will take care of the rest, you would then multiply 2.5 times $600, and the applicant would therefore need a monthly income that meets or exceeds $1,500 per month. If the applicant meets all of your requirements, both of you will then fill out what's called a request for tenant acceptance form. You'll send this along with a sample copy of your lease to the local housing authority that issued the voucher. If your property was built before 1978, you should also provide the tenant with a lead-based paint disclosure packet, if it's not already in your lease, since the acceptance form requires that the tenant has received this. From there, the housing authority will schedule an inspection of the property, which you will need to attend. If it passes, the housing authority will send you some paperwork to complete. You and the tenant will execute the lease, and both the documents will then be returned to the housing authority to be processed before the first payment can be made. It's a bit of work up front, but once it's all been completed, the housing authority will send you consistent rent payments each and every month. So that was our brief overview of the Section 8 system and what to do if someone approaches you with a voucher. There is a lot more detail that can be learned from the HUD website or your local PHA's website as well. As mentioned in the intro, we have another video that explains why all of this is so important and how you could get into some trouble if you're not familiar with it, particularly in states such as California. Check that out and let us know in the comments below if you've had any experiences with Section 8 tenants at the buildings that you own or manage. Thanks for watching.